We're live, Chris.
We are live.
Yes, sir.
We're live on the special post-draft edition of Deep Positioning and also Cowbell Kingdom. I'm here with my friend Leo Biaz, and we're here to talk about. I'm from Dallas, and Cowbell Kingdom, of course, the great true hoop community around the Sacramento Kings. We just had an exciting draft for both franchises. One franchise, I think, has some fans who are a little bit upset about certain things that happened. And I think generally Dallas Mavericks fans are happy though. But yeah, so follow Leo at at Leo Biaz.
Or yeah, on Twitter it's at BS Leo, and on Instagram it's Cowbell_Kingdom. Same thing for Twitter as well if you want to follow the CK page. But yeah, man, I would say before the draft, 70% or above of the public wanted Luka Doncic. And, it didn't happen. So, and I'm pretty positive that a lot of Mavericks fans were super hyped. It just makes sense. It's like, that's the true prophecy. They kept using the prophecy in Sacramento, but I feel like Dirk Nowitzki passing down the torch to Luka is a true prophecy.
Well, yeah, no, and I think a lot of Mavericks fans agree with you. My only problem is the way that I feel like everyone is sort of putting this thing forward as a total obvious thing. And I don't feel like it's one of those situations.
Why?
Okay. Well, so, like, for example, in the Anthony Davis draft, Anthony Davis was better than Kid Gilchrist, and he was better than Bradley Beal. Now, Kid Gilchrist and Bradley Beal are like both good players. Bradley Beal better than Gilchrist, but Anthony Davis was a prospect who's on another level. I don't think that's what Luka Doncic is. I think that there are some real questions. There's actually, I think for every one of the prospects I mentioned to you, I think there's, arguably about 10 guys who could possibly be the best player in this draft. And each of them have like one big question they have to answer. So to start with an obvious one, Michael Porter Jr., the question he has to answer is, how's your back, dude? Seems a little rough. And then Bagley, I think Bagley could be the best player in the draft. He just has to, answer this question just generally about his basketball skill set. And Doncic, I feel like really is obligated to prove to me before I can just assume, okay, you're going to be able to be the best player in this draft because you are a superior athlete, I guess. Because there's no question his skill set is elite. It's something that we really haven't seen before, but I think that people might be, I think that everyone sort of understands that EuroLeague is the second most competitive league in the world, really.
Right.
And everyone is operating under this assumption that has to apply to everything. But if you think about it, the NBA has really done a good job of sucking up every single wing. Anyone who's 6'5" to 6'9" and can move decently well, he's either on at the end of an NBA bench, or he's in a D-League team trying to break into the NBA and being given a shot because of that. And since now wings play 2, 3, and 4, when they used to just play the 3, basically swingmen, just the wing talent, especially defensively, has totally evaporated everywhere, and that's hit Europe. And I think that just on a night-to-night basis, Doncic wasn't up against a whole lot of real contests. Like when he squares up against Paul George, it'll be an experience that he's never had before. And I'm not going to assume that he's going to navigate through that gracefully. So do you sort of get where I'm going with that? Like it's not like this isn't a Kevin Durant type of pick. Although, to be clear, I had Doncic number 1, and I'm thrilled, and I think he probably has the best chance to be the best. But it's not like staring me in the face in the way that some picks do.
Would you agree, though, that European basketball is a lot more similar to today's NBA than college basketball, just in how they play and how the free-flowing offenses?
I would. I think that's actually definitely true. The thing is, though, I think that probably wing defense is closer in the NCAA to what it is in the NBA.
Right.
Because even though the level of skill is higher in Europe, the length, the wingspans, the quickness, the agility, maybe not the raw skill, but the athleticism, I think, is probably closer in college than it is to it's probably closer to the NBA than it is in Europe.
Maybe because most of those kids in the NCAA, let's be honest, some of them might never make it to the G League, and most of the guys in Europe, you would think or assume that they were either once college stars or washed-up NBA players, but they're skilled enough to be there in the first place. So it's a tough discussion or a way to prove that they're more athletic. Or you get where I'm going?
Oh yeah, no, totally. I am talking about the high end though.
Right,
because
right.
We do have Bagley playing up against elite bigs over the course of the tournament, but also during the season. And of course, you especially see, if you watched every game that DeAndre Ayton played this year, of course you're going to come out of that with like, holy crap, this guy is like, incredible. But the reality is the games where he like didn't play nearly as well were against other teams that had players who were like dominant physical forces down low. And that's what he's going to deal with in the NBA every single night. And I think that the possibility that you're, Luka Doncic, if you're in the NCAA, at least you're going to go up against like a Miles Bridges or a Zaire Smith, maybe. Like really talented long players who will really get after it. And in Europe, I don't think that exists specifically at the wing. It's almost like if he were a big man, I would feel a little better about it, because like a 7-foot guy is a 7-foot guy is a 7-foot guy. There's a little bit of differentiation, but like, I'm not sure how much better Robert Williams is, honestly, than like DeAndre Ayton. Like I might think Robert Williams is better actually, because I'm sorry.
At that age, you're saying that he's better?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of like Robert Williams more than I like DeAndre Ayton. I don't really get DeAndre, but I mean, the point is, it's like it's such a set skill set, whereas I don't feel like that's the case with wings and guards too. Who's the guard for the Clippers who came over? I mean, I think he's actually being waived now.
Yeah, Doncic.
Yeah, Doncic. I think the guards and the big men in Europe are a much higher caliber, but part of that is because everyone wants wings,
right?
So it's like the good wing, the guys who are 2s and 4s, like traditional 4s, like Zach Randolph, right? They've been pushed down because now they're like 1s and 5s, and then all of the wings got sucked up to replace those 1s and 5s that used to be 2s and 4s.
Right?
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So before I ask you this question, I do want to preface that. Obviously, everybody knows that I was on the Luka train, and I still am. I think you guys are going to make the playoffs soon.
I am too.
And I don't want people, especially Kings fans, to think that I don't like Bagley. I need to be very clear about this. And I said this on Twitter yesterday. I said Luka was my #1 prospect on my board, but that doesn't diminish the value of Marvin Bagley. I think he will be a fine NBA player. But I, in my opinion, would have not have passed on that type of a prospect. So it has nothing to do with Bagley. It has more to do with not passing up on Doncic. So with that being said, at our press conference yesterday, when Vlade came up and he started talking and we asked him a bunch of questions about why he chose Bagley over Doncic, he pretty much avoided every single question, which was smart of him, I think. And then the second part was, I don't know if he intentionally said it or meant it. He said that he sees Bagley playing 3-4-5, and I wish he would have never said that. Yeah, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I guess developmentally it's
possible in theory, but there's no way he's playing in 3.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to win you're not going to win basketball games by doing that. I do think though there's I think Marvin Bagley is a lot closer to a Julius Randle or a Blake Griffin.
Really?
Or, you know what? Okay, so how about this, right? So you know how like in 2005, Josh Smith was like a 3, sort of, but by the time he was on the Pistons, it was like, okay, dude, this guy's a 4, and you're trying to play him at the 3 next to Drummond and Monroe. You remember that whole thing? So I think that like if Bagley replaced Josh Smith on that Pistons team, it would have been the same situation that Josh Smith was in. It's like Bagley's definitely a 4. And then 20 years ago, he would have been closer to a 3 than he is to a 5. But now he's closer to a 5 than he is to a 4.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, he's so far away from being a 3 because he's like not really a wing. And he's so far away from being a 5 because he's also like not a rim protector at all. Right. Yet. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of skill set possibilities.
Do you think he can be a rim protector having only a 7-foot wingspan?
Well, so I think he can be a very good defender.
What's your philosophy? Like when you look at a prospect, obviously I value basketball IQ, feel for the game a lot more than supreme athleticism.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, there's a point at which one is going to limit the other. And I don't feel like there's a hard cap on basketball intelligence in the same way that there is on athleticism. So like your wingspan is never going to like spontaneously grow 6 inches, but if you're a really driven guy, you can really sort of dive into the film and become a better defender, if only because you study your matchup the following night. You know, like if you dedicate yourself to making sure that you show up, you understand the assignment, you know that let's say that you're 4 defending Bagley. If you know that he's always going to go left, that's going to really help you defend. I think that Bagley doesn't even understand that he could understand things like that. Like he's so far away. And I don't know whether, you know, there's some questions, frankly. I've heard some people just say that he might not be a very bright guy. And I don't really know one way or the other. I have no way of knowing.
He's bright. He's bright.
Yeah. Okay. So if that's the case, I definitely know that he's a hustle player. And he is an incredible athlete. So you can improve your basketball IQ if you work at it. You can't like just like stretch your arms really hard and all of a sudden like become Giannis, you know?
Right.
Yeah. So it's like if I have to choose between one or the other, I think I would take basketball IQ. But you know, one of them is artificially capped, and then one of them is actually physically capped. And I think that's meaningful, at least.
So with Luka, his biggest thing or the biggest criticism that he took was, oh, he's not quick enough laterally to guard other wing defenders. And I kind of said, well,
I mean, he's not in the NBA to guard people.
Right. I mean, and that's my point. But then you see guys like Bojan Bogdanovic from the Pacers, and then you see guys like Joe Ingles, who in theory, they're not supposed to be able to guard certain guys, but they did a very good job because they know how to take angles and they're strong enough and they're smart enough to do those type of things. So, I mean, I don't think he's going to struggle that much on defense, honestly. When he's 6'8", 220, he still has to lose some baby fat, and he's going to get in the program with your trainers and stuff like that, and he'll be fine. He'll get stronger. He'll get quicker from that standpoint. I thought that was blown over proportion because he is such a cerebral basketball player on offense.
I mean, I didn't hear a whole lot of criticism from much. I mean, I don't know. I didn't hear a lot. I mean, mostly the discussion I heard around Doncic's defense is that he doesn't really try. And that like, okay, well, that's fine. He just won MVP. You know, like he had to carry a scoring load. Like his team, Real Madrid, lost their starting point guard and like the best player who was on their team before the season started to injury. So, I mean, he had to really be everything for that team the entire season. And then, I mean, that's also, you know, he's playing like he's jumping from Eurobasket into EuroLeague. He's playing for like multiple different teams. You know, I'm sure was just exhausted by the end of it. And like, it's sort of like how if you try to play defense and then also carry the offensive load that Doncic carried, you're going to end up being like James Harden in Game 7 of that series against the Spurs. You just like run out of energy. My big question with Doncic isn't whether he can defend, because like you can get someone else to defend. You can go find defenders. They're out there. But supreme offensive talents are a lot harder to come by, especially at the wing position. And my question is like, can this guy create separation and get the types of looks? Because he already is a crazy shot maker. He like takes some really crazy off balance shots. He takes a lot of pull ups. He takes a lot of really difficult shots. what happens when the defender is a wing with a little with a quick like 1 step quicker and 6 inches longer
Right.
or something like that, like that difficult shot maybe becomes an impossible shot, and that worries me. That's my worry with Doncic.
I think he's smart enough as a basketball player to transition.
I do too. Yeah.
And that's why I don't think he's going to struggle. And I know a lot of people kept saying that, well, he's going to go up against so-and-so. And I was like, y'all act like the NBA has a bunch of great defenders. And that's not true. Like, not many teams play defense. I mean, come on.
Well, I know that you're from Sacramento and you have to watch the Kings play, but
they don't play
but of course I'm from Dallas, right? And by the way,
Dave Yeager's supposed to be a defensive coach, right?
Well, there was a point at which Deshaun Stevenson, and Tyson Chandler and all of that, but I think we were well past those days. Like most of our big man minutes are either going to Dirk or the shuffling corpse formerly known as Dirk, and then Dwight Powell also sucks up the rest of those minutes. So we haven't seen defense in a little while either.
I'm hoping that they sign him next year.
Dwight Powell?
Yeah.
I mean, no, he's not like horrific, but he's not spectacular. He's sort of like the best, probably the best roll man in the league. You remember when Brandon Wright had like a 70% effective field goal percentage just because he would just he's like a Clint Capella type sort of, except without the defense.
All right, I'll take it.
But it's not awful. But so do you sort of get my struggle? Actually, here, my floor outcome, and I think this is actually, people hate on comparisons, but I think sometimes they touch on something that's significant. My floor offensive outcome for Doncic is probably Draymond Green, where I don't think that there's any way that he won't be able to play off of a dominant scorer and really take advantage of 4-on-3 situations. So if you can get a guy like Steph Curry or a guy like Dame, or if Dennis Smith develops, and you can have a primary action start with a player who's a little bit more talented and a little bit more explosive, then if the ball goes from that player to Doncic is going to kill that 4-on-3 basically. He's going to kill that mismatch. And of course, what you want out of a number one guy is someone who can actually create that situation so that someone else can capitalize on it. So I'm not positive that Doncic is going to be a number one scorer. And if he's not, then that's fine. I'm not sure that there is a superstar in this draft anyways. But I mean, I really hope it isn't Trae Young because we just traded him basically. So, so yeah, I mean, did you get my concern though?
Yeah. And one thing that I was saying and people thought I was crazy, I was like, well, I can see Doncic playing small ball 4 in certain lineups, which would give a coach versatility. And it just happens that Rick Carlisle pretty much said today that he's going to be a mismatch when he puts him at the 4. So I thought that was interesting. And which brings up my second point. A lot of fans and, other local media members were reporting that the Kings were afraid that Luka would take the ball away from De'Aaron Fox, which to me, if that was a primary concern, you got to fire the entire front office, right? Because the Mavericks didn't care. I mean, they have Dennis Smith Jr. And to me, it's such a bogus thing to say or to even bring up because you need multiple 3-4 playmakers. I mean, the Warriors have 7 of them and the Rockets have 3. And you saw what happened when one of them went out. I mean, you need multiple guys who can facilitate an offense and make everybody better. So I just thought that was a weak thing from whoever sources that was in terms of the Kings being concerned about Doncic taking away from De'Aaron Fox. I thought he would have made De'Aaron Fox better because De'Aaron Fox is a scoring guard who could have complemented him because he's, in theory, quick enough to guard other 2 guards and other point guards, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things there. The first I would say is Carlisle runs a lot of multiple point guard lineups with multiple ball handlers. one might say, you know, if one was trying to be edgy, one might say that's because he's a good coach, but you know, I don't know, maybe
He's a great
so like maybe that's some of the problem with not wanting to get multiple ball handlers out on the court for Sacramento. I'm not the biggest Dave Yeager fan, I'll admit. So I think that's maybe part of it. The other part of it is there's some circumstantial evidence to suggest that maybe Dennis Smith could shoot off the catch a little bit better than he can off the dribble. He sure as hell loves to take shots off the dribble. Jaren Fox does too. Jaren Fox does it a little closer though. I think there's more spacing concerns with Sacramento, but I think it's still like, you know,
but the Kings have Bogdanovic and Buddy Hield, so I didn't think spacing was any issues. I mean, those are two snipers right there.
Well, so yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good point, actually. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. They should be able to make that work.
Exactly, which is mind-boggling to me.
Where's that pull-up three that Willie Cauley-Stein was showing before his draft? Where's that? Come on now.
Let's go back and make that trade. That it was the first time that we linked up for a podcast. I think your proposed trade was Willie for Nerlens. I think.
Yeah.
Like, nah. I mean, they're both pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I God. I still think Willie's interesting, but you know, I mean, you can even play Scalabrine. He stretches the floor a little bit. I think you're right. I think that you know what I was going to say is like, regardless of whether or not it's true, which I think you're probably right, it is true that like that's not a good excuse. I mean, it definitely breaks down because it's like, why are you so sure that Dennis Smith is like, or that Jaren Fox is a starting, you know, point guard of the future?
And the same goes for Smith, right?
Right. No, exactly. And like, so it's like, I mean, as of right now, we have a little bit more of an evidence base from Dennis Smith. I didn't really strongly feel one way or the other. The weird thing about rookie like stat projections is that, you know, well, actually, the weird thing about like geometry is that you need 2 points to start like creating a trend line, you know? So like, it seems like rookies can go like, if they go up in their second year, then like they're probably going to become better. And if they go down, then they're like obviously not. But I mean, he's coming from the same starting place in his rookie year that Russell Westbrook did. But I mean, he's probably coming from the same place that Roddy Beaubois did also, you know, or
right. And then Fox,
like a bunch of crappy players.
Fox and Wall have nearly identical stats. I mean, on all across the board.
Exactly. So I don't think we know enough about either player to like make a determination one way or the other. And it's like, I think the argument is slightly less awful if you're the Mavs, because I think Dennis Smith has like some flashes of shooting off the catch. And I think that Fox doesn't, but like, we're talking like flashes, and we're also talking rookies. We're talking like athletic rookies that were not drafted because of their ability to shoot anyways. And the coaching thing I think is real too. You know, like, I mean, the Mavs turned around and took Jalen Brunson. I mean, now they've already talked about bringing Devin Harris back, so they might potentially have Devin Harris, JJ Barea, Dennis Smith, Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic, and Yogi Ferrell. So like 6 point guards next year.
Do you think Jalen is better than Yogi?
No, I think probably not. But I think that the Mavericks have. I think that by taking Jalen Brunson, they're probably committing to moving on from Yogi.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think there's like, I mean, but we'll have to see what happens. I mean,
so are the Mavericks going to get DeMarcus out with Luka being there?
I think that probably. Well, so first, I'll just go ahead and like spoil it. No, I don't think that they will, but but I don't think that that's impacted because of Luka. I think the Mavs have been like the go-to for leverage. It's like, you remember Hassan Whiteside published that Instagram video when he was signing. He's like, I'm signing a max in Miami. Like, that was a day after he was in Dallas for his free agent thing. Like, you know, there's the whole DeAndre fiasco. Like, you know, I'm from Dallas. The Mavericks always have cap space, and they always offer it to guys who never take it. And like, you know, DeMarcus won't have a choice, bro. I mean, he's coming off an Achilles injury. I don't think he demands a max from the Pelicans. If they do, they're silly as heck. So I think he's going to Dallas. Okay, well, so here's the thing, though. Think about this as if you were Dell Demps, right? If you traded what you traded for Boogie to get Boogie, if you let him walk now, you're fired. If you keep Boogie, there's at least a like snowball's chance in hell that like he turns it around and you get to keep your job. So like I mean, there's a lot of incentives working there where it's like if you were an NBA 2K general manager and you didn't care about being fired because you could just reload a new save, then like yeah, you let Boogie walk for sure. Mirotic was better, but like if you're Dell Demps, like one avenue, you pretty much have no chance of keeping your job. If you let Boogie walk and you traded Buddy Hield and like a bunch of stuff for Boogie, well, I mean some stuff for Boogie, right. And you then let Boogie walk, I mean like you're fired, but you can re-sign him to the max and at least have a shot that like he's going to be the same player. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, and then someone on the text line, they're saying that Carlisle wouldn't deal with Cousins. How do you feel that combination or that duel would do with Cousins and Carlisle?
Yeah, I if that's the case and Carlisle wants to go toe to toe with Cousins, I think it would be the first player coach situation where he would be the one asked to see the door. I mean, like Mark Cuban loves superstar players, Right. Luckily, Dirk is not exactly a combative dude, and like who's gonna get in an argument with Dirk? But if Dirk and Carlisle had like got at each other's throats, Carlisle would have been out the door. And if the Mavericks were to go get DeMarcus Cousins and he were to clash with Rick Carlisle, I think Rick Carlisle would be the casualty probably.
Okay. Yeah. That's a first.
Well, I mean, like the player normally wins those conflicts, right? Especially superstars.
Yeah, players always win, especially in Sacramento, as you may already know.
Right. No, I mean, is that a hot take? I feel like the default is to say that like the coach loses. I mean, like Jaeger. Speaking of Jaeger and the Grizzlies, right? Like, didn't like a Grizzlies head coach learn that the hard way? And like Marc Gasol is not even half as good as Boogie is.
I mean, at one point he was, but
yeah, at one point he was better than Boogie was ever. But I mean, right now he's. Well, I mean, actually,
we don't know that.
Pretty bad right now.
Yeah, last season.
Right. Yeah.
Last season.
Yeah, but I mean, it's rough. It's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, I still do. I do want to touch a little bit because I assume a lot of the people who are watching like are there's this basketball cognoscenti, and I sort of want to harp on this. Can I go on a little bit of a soapbox rant?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so talk directly to the listeners here, and this is listeners of Deep Positioning or listeners of Cowbell Kingdom, whether that's on video or podcast. You're gonna take a little test for me. You've got to grade your own paper, though. Like, there's no one to check your work. You just got to be real with yourself. Have you ever watched a Real Madrid game with Luka, right? Or a Serbian Eurobasket game from start to finish, like tip off to buzzer? And so that's question one. And question two is, if you have, what was the sponsor he had on the front of that jersey? Because like there's three possible ones. There's three different jerseys that he's worn over the course of basically since he was 14 with three sponsors. So it's like, and if you can't answer both of those questions, like, by the way, it's Telemac, Universidad Europea, or Teca. So anyways, but if you can't answer those questions, you probably need to have watched more Luka Doncic to like have a really solid opinion on him, because it's like, I feel like Zach Lowe and Gibney on Zach Lowe's podcast.
Giovanni is terrible.
I mean, that
guy has
they said something. I don't remember who it was who said this, but it sort of bothered me. They said, it seems like smart basketball guys think he's pretty dumb or he's pretty great. Like Doncic is pretty great, and
that was him. That was him.
Okay,
that was the only thing that was good. The other thing is just him straight up saying Luka didn't want to play in Sacramento. Like, that was a bunch of baloney.
Well, so I mean, actually, I think that's probably true. He was hanging out with like Vivek's son or something, I think. So you're probably right. That isn't probably true. But
and he wanted to play with Bogdan. I mean, Bogdan told me that.
Okay, well, so yeah, and like, plus, I think that if he was gonna have a problem with a team picking him, it probably would have been Memphis. I could see him wanting to go to Dallas more than wanting to go to Sacramento, but it's not like Sacramento's at the bottom half of the list of teams that he would want to play for or not play for, right? I mean, I think he would have been fine, but I mean, the reason why this statement bothered me is because, like, really what that's telling people is like, look, you might not have watched enough Luka Doncic, but Zach Lowe is telling you that you're stupid if you don't like Luka Doncic, right? So like now you get everyone split into these like fissures where it's like Luka Doncic is the best. I'm saying that confidently because I'm a smart basketball guy, but it's like, dude, you need to watch those games if you're gonna like make a claim like that. That's how you're a smart basketball guy, is like go watch EuroLeague games. And like, here's a pro tip. EuroLeague games aren't as good as NBA games. So like, don't worry about it. Like, let your team like do the scouting, let them do the drafting. And like, the reality is Bagley's a really good player. He was dominant in college. He was physically dominant in college. He was just as good for Duke as Doncic was for like, I mean, every team that he ever played for since he was basically in diapers.
That's fair.
I mean, I think Bagley is a really fantastic player. I could definitely understand. I could be a really good scout, sit down with all the film, look at it, and come out and say, yeah, Bagley's the guy without being an idiot. I pretty firmly believe that. I mean, like, it's not like Bagley's a scrub. This is a guy who was like dropping like 20 and 12 every single game for like one of the best one of the best teams in the NCAA. You know what I mean?
Right. And to be fair, he was playing with another NBA player in Wendell Carter, who I think will be better. And then he was playing with other guys.
Okay, all right. So I want to hear it. Okay, so you got him 7th on your. All right, so like I'll just go ahead and say I had Luka Doncic number 1, and then Jaren Jackson number 2, and then number 3 I had Bagley. So I think Bagley's really good. But so you had, I guess, Wendell. You had Wendell above Bagley. Who else? Doncic, of course.
Yeah. So I had Luka number 1, Jaren number 2. I had Ayton number 3. I had Miles Bridges number 4.
Okay.
And then I had Wendell at number 5. At number 6, I had Trae Young, and then Marvin Bagley at 7.
Yeah, so I mean, the reality is like none of those answers are dumb if you were to say that that's the best player.
And we're nitpicking, right? Because they're not all superior amongst you. It's like something little.
But that's my point. That's exactly my point. Is that like saying yeah, I think personally that like Doncic probably has like a 20% chance to be the best player in this draft. That doesn't mean that Bagley doesn't have like a 12% chance. Like, I mean, that's based on my evaluation, and like I can tell you the sponsors on the front of his jerseys, but like I have like watched, I think 2. I think I have watched I think I watched the Real Madrid championship game just recently, and then I watched Eurobasket when Luka and Goran Dragic were like winning it for Serbia. So like I've like watched 2 from like start to finish games, and it's like I could understand if you were to watch just highlights, like walking away and being like, okay, of course we're going to pick Ayton. Ayton's obviously a superstar. Look at this guy. What that probably means is that like, well, first you're not an NBA scout. So like, and I'm not an NBA scout again, like I'm trying to say like, let's see what happens. But you probably care more about highlights than you should, and don't care enough about stats and like projections and strategy. Whereas like, if you're saying that Doncic is the clear number 1 choice and everyone else is stupid, then like you care too much about stats and you need to watch a little bit more basketball. I think that like probably
the highlights never show anything bad about a player.
Right. Yeah. No. And I agree. But like, at the same time, if you see all of Ayton's highlights, and then all of Doncic's highlights, you go with Ayton, right? I mean, yeah. I guess like that's my point.
Most people.
Yeah, most people who have watched basketball, like
most recreational fan, I would say.
Well, I mean, I would have, like, I mean, Ayton's incredible. I mean, like he's a monster of a man. Although like Ayton, I don't understand the whole Ayton thing. I think Ayton, like, I would rather have Kevin Knox than Ayton. I might rather have Robert Williams than Ayton. I don't get it. Like, okay, you like Ayton? How much?
Do.
How much do you like him?
I had a hard time putting them at 4 or 5 because I knew that sparked backlash, I would say. But I can't deny his physical capabilities, and if everything goes well for him, obviously, as both you and I have said.
So people say that. Okay, all right. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so like, what does that look like? What is like? So let's say that Ayton makes an All NBA team. Like, what is his stat line? Like, what does he do on a night-to-night basis?
28 and 10. No, 28 and 13.
Okay, how does he get those 28 points? Does he get fouled 12 times?
Yes.
And he makes like what, like 90% of his free throws or something like that?
78, 80.
Okay, so okay, 80%. All right, so and then how many threes is he shooting a game?
Hopefully 3, and hopefully he makes 1.
Okay, so and then how many like times you gonna post him up or like try to get him to the basket?
I get it. It won't translate to wins, and that's my whole point.
No. Like how many times? How many two-pointers is he gonna score?
He sounds like DeMarcus to me. He sounds like he's a great stat filler. Fans love that, especially if they're used to losing
so
like Sacramento Kings fans. And
so he's a high volume big man.
Yeah, right.
No, that's I'm just trying to walk through this. I'm just trying to figure it out. Like,
right,
you know,
right.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything. Like, you know, actually, I think you're making a really good point. And I think this is what you're trying to say, which is like, you know, Cousins was a really good player. Not sure how much that led to winning basketball, right? Is that sort of what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly where I'm at, because it's like, you know, you could get any player basically to like score 30 points a game if you just like abandon all hope and just like shove it down his throat and make him score. It's not like a good move though, you know?
So yeah, I guess someone on text line saying, what is Ayton elite at? Right? I mean, that's a question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah,
what's he so good at?
He's an elite prospect.
Yeah, like what's Ayton do that leaves you like, oh my God, like this guy is elite at something. With Doncic, it's passing, right? Like he tends to make everybody better. Like his vision is elite.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I mean, he also has like DeMar DeRozan style footwork and like, and I mean, not flexibility, not like agility, but like wiggle, whatever that is. So I think Doncic is very good at like playing those margins. I think Doncic is elite at like a handful of different things. I think he has less questions to answer because Ayton, he's elite. I mean, is 7'1"? That's elite height, right?
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah. He has would you say that he has elite strength? I think he has very good strength.
Sure. He's elite strength. Okay.
Well, so but like Shaq was elite size and strength, right? Is he Shaq?
Oh no, it's a good question. He didn't look like Shaq in college.
Well, yeah, no, I would say that like he's very obviously not Shaq, right?
Right.
And like, you know, the guys on the Stepien, shout out Ode to Odin, Sean Darenthal.
Love both of them. Best college.
Wow. They're on such a good podcast network, I gotta say.
I know, the best.
So they were making Cole made a really good point recently. Cole's Wicker.
He's the best by far. Go ahead.
He's so smart guy. So he was making the point that it's like, look at the big men who recently have been in the NBA finals and like, where is Ayton there? Like, okay, so Shaq, is he as dominant as Shaq? No. Is he as smart as Tim Duncan? I don't think so.
No.
Is he as much of a monster as Ben Wallace? No. Does he switch or does he do anything like Draymond Green does? No. In the 2011 Mavs, when they won the title, Dirk was playing the center. Is he Dirk? Does he shoot like Dirk? No. Is he Chris Bosh? I don't think he's that versatile. I mean, like, I think that if you're, I mean,
he's a poor man's version of Joel Embiid, right?
No, I think that more what he's like is like Dwight Howard at his peak without the defensive instincts. And like, remember,
with a better jump shot.
Maybe.
Right.
I mean, like, so with, yeah, I mean, actually, I'll go ahead and say, yeah, with a better jump shot. I mean, probably for sure. But I mean, like, not even necessarily a translatable 3-pointer. I mean, we're sort of speculating when we say that he could shoot threes. I don't think I've seen enough of that. But I mean, I just like, I don't see what he's elite at that typically has made elite NBA centers elite. You know what I mean? Like, because Joel Embiid, part of the reason he's elite is because he was the best rim protector or the second best rim protector in the league last year.
Right. And would you say Bagley has elite speed?
Bagley?
Yes.
No,
elite speed for size.
Bagley has like elite springiness. Whatever it is that made Amare, and whatever it is that physically makes Anthony Davis, or athletically makes Anthony Davis into Anthony Davis, that's what Bagley has. That's elite. Of course, like Anthony Davis also has like the skills of a point guard, you know, and he's like amazing. So, and Bagley, I think Bagley's fairly unskilled, which I think actually gives him some upside, because I think he doesn't know what the hell he's doing ever, pretty much, especially on defense. I mean, his block rate was like 2%. Like, it was really bad. So, but like, I think that physically, I think like Amare Stoudemire was elite athletically, and in the same way that he was, I think that Bagley is.
So would you say Bagley is elite at rebounding?
Yeah, sure.
Is right? Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think that's his most elite thing, if that's a thing. So I think it's speed, rebounding, second and third jump. Other than that,
yeah. So that's springiness, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a great point from Cole. Will that translate? Will his 20 and 10 translate to winning basketball? And I keep hearing that he's a great scorer, but how did he get his baskets around the rim against guys who aren't as athletic and aren't as strong? So my thing is, how is he going to get his jump shots? I get it. He shot 40% from three, but he only shot 61 times.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Like I think that he could have a jump shot and it's still not enough. It's funny. I had a similar feeling about Lonzo Ball last year. And I'm going somewhere with this. Don't worry. So last year, Lonzo Ball would sometimes be trying to break down his man in ISO because the Lakers would do that for some reason. And he'd be trying to do dribble moves, and he looked like he was a fourth grader sometimes. And like, I just realized at some point, like, dog, LeVar, what are you doing, homie? Like, you're making some great sneakers. Your Facebook show is apparently awesome. Like, you know, best of luck to you, but like, teach your fucking son how to dribble the basketball and like how to like create some separation, because this guy's like not getting it done. That cute little step back he did, it worked in college. It's not working in the NBA. He's shooting terribly, and like, he should be able to do this because I know fourth graders that can do this. I think Bagley has some skills on the basketball court that he's functionally a fourth grader, and that's like a big problem. And the fact that he was as dominant as he was, despite those limitations, I think is both intriguing and concerning. You know, it's like, it'd be, on one hand, it's like, it's so easy to like take that next step, but on the other hand, it's like, if it's so easy, why haven't you done it yet? You know? So I mean, that's my thing with Bagley. It's like, dude, you need to be ambidextrous. You need to finish with both hands. That's something Amari could do. You need to like have a good set shot. You can't just have pull-up mid-range jumpers all day. You need to be able to dribble well enough, because I mean, he can attack a closeout, but he can't pass out of that.
Right.
That's like sort of, I think that if he could pass out of like the pump fake and drive, he'd be like almost Blake Griffin at that point.
Almost.
Yeah, actually, like Marvin Bagley, who can pass off of the drive and who can finish with both hands. That's Blake Griffin, I think.
Sure, I agree. Can he develop that? They say he has a great work ethic. He says it himself. I do like that about him, and I think another strength or a good characteristic that they kept saying was he has that dog in him. Now, explain to people what that means, Chris.
It means that he's a furry. No. I mean, like, I think what it means is, I mean, I don't know much about him personally. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna ask you, like, what's your impressions, like, just from around the team. What are you hearing? Like, what do you think he's like? This is probably stuff that's best answered by you. I don't really have a lot of insight.
Right. So what I know is that he comes from a strong family. His father, his grandfather played in the NBA with the Hawks, and then his father has coached him all the way into Duke. So he kind of had like that
LeVar, you mean?
Yeah, like that LeVar Ball-esque thing. So it'll be interesting to see if his father ever comes into the picture. And I don't think so, but he does come from a strong family, which to me matters. He comes from a stable situation. He does have a strong work ethic from the people that I've spoken to. So I like that about him. And he is very well spoken. He's articulate. And, I was talking to one of our guys from News 10 last night, and he pretty much said Bamba and Bagley may be the best in terms of media quotes. And then Lonzo is probably one of the worst. And I don't know if that has anything to do with basketball, but it kind of gives you some insight on what they're interested in. And sometimes that may tell you, you know what, this guy's a gym rat. This guy is not. I know Buddy Hield's a gym rat. That dude is working. He lives with his dog and he has no friends, allegedly, because basketball is his life. And if you're obsessed with something,
he doesn't have any buddies.
Right. I think if you're obsessed with something, just in general, it can be us being better podcasters or better video storytellers.
That's why I
work more than everybody. We're gonna just guaranteed to be better than everybody, right? And I think that's what Buddy, and that's something that DeAndre Ayton doesn't have, according to people that were close to him from the Bahamas. Like, that's why Buddy Hield outworks so many people. And yeah, he may not be the most athletic, but he's always gonna outwork you. And that's, to me, a special talent. Would you agree?
Yeah. So, I think comparing it to podcasting, I could try as hard as I wanted, and like I would never sound as slick as Bill Simmons does. I would never be as easy to listen to as Morgan Freeman. I would never be as funny as Zach Harper. I probably would never be as smart as Cole. No, I'm as smart as Cole. But there are podcasters who have natural abilities that make them better than I am and better than I will ever be. I think that Bagley's in a position where he's one of the rare few that, yeah, if he has the ability to develop things that are like in his mind, if he were a podcaster, he would be like Morgan Freeman, but like, okay, you need to like train those vocal cords. You need to like, yeah, EA Sports, just like really like get guttural with it, like really like work out those like those bassy tones, because like, I mean, it is not something that he seems to have had, but he's well past puberty though, so his voice should be deeper, but it's not. That was like an awful metaphor, but I mean, the point is like, I think that that's not necessarily always true, but in his case it is. So, but if you remember when I sort of first brought him up, one of the first things I said was like, I don't know if he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
And you see enough of like Bamba play or Joel Embiid, you can just tell is brilliant. Just like, or LeBron James, he's got that whole like eidetic memory thing going on. I haven't I don't really have any reason to think that he's a smart guy. I don't really have any reasons to think that he's not a smart guy either. But I mean, I am actually leaning a little bit towards he's maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed. But like I just like I'm just purely speculating. And that'll be a big deal
on the court or off the court, because to me that matters.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think those things are like they're not the same thing, but they're hand in hand, I think, in a lot of ways,
There's some guys that are a lot better on the court than off the court, and you're like, whoa, like that's I think I would say Ben McLemore wasn't the sharpest on the court in terms of feel for the game, basketball IQ, but off the court he'd say all the right things, and he was a great
They're correlated though, right? Like there's like a there's a connection, I think, right?
Yes. I can't.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think there are like some like smart basketball players who are dumb and dumb basketball players who are smart, but they're typically correlated on some level, I think. So
ultimately, you think Bagley can potentially be the best player in the draft, and if you had to guess right now, do you think it'll work out with what the Kings have currently?
No, I don't think it will. I think that Jaeger's not the right coach. I don't think he's going to develop him right. I think he'll play Zach Randolph in the minutes that Bagley should be playing. I think he'll probably not be sophisticated enough to like teach him how to cut off ball and play off ball well. I think he'll probably just make him be a dive man. And I think that once he gets fired, which he inevitably will, they probably won't hire the right coach to replace him.
That is the story of a Kings fan. Yeah. You guys already hear it first. Chris Axman, man.
But I mean, like in all seriousness, I'm a little concerned because he's not one of these guys who's like a no miss prospect. He like there's a world where he misses. It's if he doesn't develop any. I'm a little concerned about what that means for his future. That being said, there's no world where like I think he's a non-impact player. I think that he like if busting means that you're not in the league anymore, I think that in this entire draft he has the lowest bust potential. I just think there's no way that he's like not in the NBA. Like I mean he didn't know what he was doing and he dominated the NCAA. Like, you know, his rookie year, he should be good enough to play. Sure. Wait, what?
He's not Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, I mean, like he if he never gets any better than he is right now, he should be able to play 15 minutes a game for like a decade at least, you know.
I agree, yeah.
But I mean, I assume you don't want a player who plays 15 minutes a game with the second pick, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
All right. I mean, that was pretty honest, Chris. I mean, it sounds like you're a Kings fan in some sense.
I actually, you know, I'm just not a big Dave Joerger fan, you know? I mean,
I'm still holding some hope for him. And I always talk about this, just because I criticize someone on the court or in their role doesn't mean I don't like them or think highly of them as individuals, because there's a lot of guys on the Kings that I love. But, you know, I'm not that high on Justin Jackson on the court. He's a phenomenal human being, though. I love Dave Joerger off the court. But I am beginning to come along your line of, you know what, if he continues to play his dual horns, you know, old school style of basketball, then and if he doesn't transition into his personnel, which is running gun, bunch of young guys who are athletes, and it's not going to work out. You're right.
Yeah, and it just seems like too often he's throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, you know? Like I sometimes think that he I'm not saying that you need to allocate your minutes before the game even starts, but you should probably have some understanding of what your rotation is going to look like based on like the other team's personnel. And I just feel like he'll go in if something works. It doesn't matter if the like fundamentals were strong. If the shots don't go in, he'll change it all up and like randomize it and like shake the ball again. And it's like, okay, well now something's working because the ball's going. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it's a little easier for me to tell because like, I mean, Rick Carlisle truly is a great coach. It's like great to watch, but yeah. And I mean, where's Scal? Where's our guy? You know, where is he?
I don't know. That's one of my frustrations last year. Zebo was playing over him most of the season. I didn't understand it. I said, well, if they're both defensive liabilities, I'd rather play Scal. And I know Scal can get you 15 and 10. I mean,
right, sure. And maybe he'll do it a little less efficiently, but that just means you'll get the first pick instead of the second one, right?
Damn it, you're right. Maybe the Kings have Ayton and not Willie right now.
Well, I mean, now you're gonna make me say that I would rather have Willie Cauley-Stein than DeAndre Ayton because like I'm thinking about it. I'm mulling it over. I'm a big Willie Cauley-Stein fan. I want to believe.
I set you up right there.
He's like he's got that like Michael Porter Jr. vibe, except like without the broken back. Like he's got that like, yeah, I'm sort of like Shaq mixed with like Tracy McGrady mixed with Allen Iverson. Like Willie Cauley-Stein.
Willie will give you the best quotes after every game for sure. He says he's like Porzingis and like he's just as good as him. And I'm like, bro, you've never attempted a three in your life. Someone just said on text line, Kings need some proper hard coaching. Messina from the Spurs would be ideal. He would teach these kids how to play basketball.
That would be a good fit.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I think that I mean, the question,
because like he was an option before they hired Dave.
Oh my God. I just don't understand how you could hire a guy who looks so much like a high school like volleyball coach who teaches sex ed. I just don't get it. Like he just looks like a like short shorts wearing middle America high school coach. He's got that goatee going on. I just don't like it. I just don't like how he looks. That's my problem with Dave Yeager. Don't at me.
And everybody, a disclaimer, he was just joking about that one.
Yeah, no, I'm just messing around. But like I think that whoever it was that was in that text thread saying that, I think Messina, I think you're probably right. I think that whether you want to believe Kawhi or not, it seems like the Spurs have done something that has worked for a while. And I don't think that all of a sudden, just because Kawhi says that he wants out, that the Spurs are the problem. So, I mean, if you can import some of that culture too, I mean, I think that, like, if anything, coming from the Grizzlies, Yeager brought a little bit of a smell with him, I think.
Yeah, and again, my leash is a little bit longer. I think, to be fair, also, he didn't have the best talent last year, and that's just me being real. So maybe with more talent, obviously, the team got better with Bagley, so we'll see what he does. But it's going to be interesting to see how he manages Kosta's minutes, Zebo's minutes, because he is a guy who loves his veterans. He's going to play his veterans no matter what on this young team, which may be an issue, as you've stated. But someone, Mavericks fan, is saying, can free agency put the Mavs over the top in a couple of years?
What does that mean? What does it mean? Championship?
Yeah, I don't know what that was pretty broad.
I mean, over the top, if that means like into the playoffs, like
top four. How about that?
Okay. In 2 years is what he said?
Yeah.
So I think that maybe Doncic gets injured the first game of next season, and also Dennis Smith gets injured, and then we get like Cam Reddish or something, like the number 1 pick in like next year's draft because it's protected top 5, and then Klay Thompson or something, and then maybe.
Yeah.
I like no. I don't think so. I don't think that I like Dennis Smith Jr. and I think he might be really good. I'm not sure though. And if he is going to be really good, it's not going to happen next year or the year after probably, which is a little scary. I mean, it really does seem like those athletic, quick jitterbug point guards, you're always going into their last year. And eventually it's like, okay, well, I'm a restricted free agent. Are you going to extend me or what? And you've seen just enough to want to keep them. And he's seen just enough of himself to want a max, but like, you don't want to give it to him.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think the Mavs right now I think they're a hell of a lot closer than they used to be. I do think that Luka Doncic is probably always going to be a best fit as the second best player on a team. I think that he's perfect to be a second best player on a championship team, but like, I think that you really want like a better athlete probably to be your number 1 option.
All right, let's get into free agency. As one of the last topics, do you think Hazonia would be a good fit at small forward since they didn't get Luka Doncic with the Kings?
One sec, I'm eating some Tums. Got a tummy ache.
I think I'm actually pretty high on Super Mario. I think he got screwed by the Magic, as did many other players that you have crossed there. I'm not gonna say the names, but I think Hazonia, with a clean slate, knowing, Vlade and Page's pedigree of being European guys and having those connections, I think they can get him on a short-term contract, give him a shot. The Kings need a small forward, and he's very skilled. So I see him fitting right in. If that was a plan all along, because I know the Kings are super high on him, so we'll see.
I would not be surprised if he went to the Kings. I don't know. I've heard some conflicting things about Mario.
Like what?
Don't worry about it. So I mean, based on what I heard, I think probably no. Like, he's probably not destined for the NBA world, but like, I can't really confirm that, but I have like reasons to think that, like, probably no.
You like his game though.
I mean, like on the surface level, yeah. I mean, I think he's fun. I understand why he went so high in the draft despite not really playing very much over in Europe. And he had a pretty decent second half of the season, although part of that I think might be correlated to the fact that, like, games were non-competitive for the Magic most nights, and nobody else wanted to do anything. So he got a lot of opportunities, and some of them went in. I mean, I don't know. I like, it's not like how much money would the Kings put down for him? Because I think that's the real question. I mean, like, if you're going to sign him to a minimum, I think any team should sign him to a minimum.
How about 2 years, $24 million?
Hell no. Hell no.
No?
Fuck no. Are you kidding me? Mario Hezonja?
Yeah.
No.
What about not. 2 years, $18 million?
Probably still no. Maybe like maybe 2 years, 8 million. Maybe.
He's not gonna. He's demanding way more than that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, I don't really know. I can't, like, I'm not really sure. I mean, but I've heard enough rumblings about some things that, like, yeah, I'm not gonna go on record saying he's good. That's the end of that.
I can see him going to the Spurs and resurrecting his career there, though, with Popovich.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. Maybe. I mean, like, I mean, first, I mean, okay, we'll stick to his game. I mean, there's something to be said for being a difficult shot maker. I mean, I was recently saying how great it is that Doncic can do that.
Right.
But you don't want to look for difficult shots to take. It's just nice if you end up having to take them if they go in. And I think Mario does not necessarily enter every possession trying to get the best shot that he can. I feel like sometimes he's going into the possession and he's preordained whether or not he's going to take a shot. And sometimes that means that it doesn't end up being a very good one. And I think he telegraphs his moves a little too much. And the reason he steadily improves over the course of the season is because defenders just eventually, like, don't care. They're just like, they just, like, I think that if he were to ever be in a playoff situation, defenders would just pay more attention and shut him down, because I think he makes his next move very obvious.
If the Kings they gave George Hill $19 million, are you going to give Marcus Smart 19 or even $22 million?
Sure, totally. I love Marcus Smart for sure.
Me too.
Yeah, I would give, like, I mean, I wouldn't feel great about it, but I would probably do it just to get some talent in the building. I mean, like, I like Dennis Smith. I mean, actually, you know what? Not Dennis Smith. Okay. Marcus Smart, Buddy Hield, Boban, Bagley. That's like 4 parts of a really switchable lineup.
Right.
And then Willie Cauley-Stein is basically like LeBron James mixed with Kevin Durant mixed with Mahatma Gandhi. So, like, I think Willie Cauley-Stein could probably switch and defend all 6 positions, probably. Like,
he was supposed to be able to do that. He was.
I know.
And maybe this year, on his contract year, he averages 25 and 15. Who knows?
Hey, let me ask you a Spurs. Here's the Spurs reclamation project. Can Willie Cauley-Stein be the next Tim Duncan if he ends up on the Spurs? That's what I want to know.
No.
He would be you know what?
Popovich
Actually,
good.
Hey, what do you think about this whole Dwight Howard thing?
I think he should pay the Warriors money to play on their team.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think you texted me that. That's funny. Yeah, dude. Oh god, they won't do that, will they?
I think
the reason I was
I
thinking
think he
about it
needs
is
a ring
Willie
to like.
Cauley-Stein. Willie
He,
Cauley-Stein is the type of guy who you would want to have on the Warriors. Right?
oh, for sure. I mean, he'd look phenomenal on that team.
He's like JaVale McGee 2.0, basically.
He'd be better than McGee.
I know, yeah, 2.0.
Yeah. Oh no, he'd be like a 0.5 because he'd be
software update.
No, someone's saying Capella deserves a max with the Kings. Does Capella fit with the Kings, especially knowing that Zebo, Costa, and Willie may be coming off the books next year?
Yeah, I mean, so if Bagley hits his if Bagley hits his upside, he's basically Capella except with a little bit more dribble and like a decent amount better shooting. I mean, so no, I don't really see it at all. Unless you think that Bagley is going to be that 15 minutes a game player that I was talking about earlier, in which case, yeah, you should probably find a better center. Maybe Scott Labissiere should be given a shot before. I mean, like, don't the Kings have enough centers? I mean,
right now they have 6 big on the roster, but 3 of them, like next year, the Kings are going to have the most money to spend in free agency. Like it's going to be ludicrous.
Are you going to get
Klay Thompson
Rondo again?
No, I'm joking. So is there anything else that we want to talk about? NBA news, news with our network, anything spicy coming down? I know you've been out of town for a couple weeks. Any good news to tell the CK Nation world?
Yeah, I'm pregnant. No, I'm just kidding. No. I mean,
are you going to
guess
Summer League this year?
Yeah, I mean that's my plan. I mean, so I've been like I haven't been talking a lot about basketball actually because Leo asks, is there any network news? I run Almighty Baller podcast network, and we run a bunch of different podcast networks. Actually, it's very hush hush, but so like I run like Almighty Media, which is like the umbrella company, and we've been selling part of it, and that's been taking up all of my time.
Right.
And assuming that the sales goes through here, which it should in about a week, then I'll go to Summer League. And I guess that's good news that we have investors. There are people who are paying money for parts of it. That's good.
Does that mean that
we have value?
Does that mean that we're all going to make more money now?
Yeah, no, it totally does. Like, so
right.
like the investor is actually a CEO of an ad agency. So
sweet. Yeah. Someone's saying, is Jabari Parker a good fit with the Kings?
He's talented, so in that sense, yes. I think he would step on the Kings and like have the second highest upside probably on the team. He's like, I mean, he's a difficult fit almost everywhere. I mean, I think there's something interesting about the idea of I mean, like we were saying switching earlier, right? So we got Marcus Smart, Buddy Hield, Bogdanovich, Jabari, and Bagley, right?
Right.
I mean, no one's protecting the rim, and no one's like, except for Marcus Smart, is going to fight over screens. But like, just switch everything. I think that would work. That would work, sort of, right?
Right. It would.
I think Jabari's a better switch defender than I mean, I
love Jabari. Obviously, the easy thing to say is injuries scare me, and they do scare me, especially if they give him, I don't know, $17 to $22 million, which is what he's going to command. So I would do it because the Kings aren't getting that type of talent. I think he's young enough that if he does get injured again, he can still be used in a trade 2 years from now. Say he just becomes like the biggest bust, right? I think he's young enough that somebody will take a flyer on him if he decides or if he can stay healthy. So I think Jabari would be key now that they have Bagley since they didn't go Luka. To me, Randall now may not make sense. I mean, that was a number one guy for me.
Come on.
Right, and I know you're pretty high on that, but would Randall fit with Bagley?
No, I mean, like, it's funny. I mean, in some ways, they're very similar. Like, they can only finish with one hand. They've got like questionable outside jump shots, but they shoot too much off the dribble. Probably. I mean, it seems like their skill is like force, which is funny because it's like, you use force if you don't have skill. It's interesting. I think they're similar in a bunch of ways that don't work well together. So no, I think it's a particularly bad fit.
Okay. That does make sense. So you would say Jabari Parker, Hazonia, Aaron Gordon are better fits?
I mean, Hazonia, okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if let me think. No. I was about to say a scoring wing would fit really well on the Kings roster, but like it's too bad you didn't pick Luka, huh? But
right. Stop it. It hurts.
Yeah. I mean, because like Buddy Hield's gonna be shooting if Bagley's sort of like a springy roll man, but then no. So Hazonia. I mean, like, I don't know if that's a great fit. Aaron Gordon, I think is almost certainly not a good fit. I think Jabari Parker is probably the best fit. And like that doesn't make a lot of sense on its face, but I think if they could switch everything, that's the reason why it's a good fit. Because like switching is almost like the lazy man's favorite defense, because it's just like you can just like switch everything and it's just like, all right, well, I don't have to fight over screens. Sweet. Like no wonder the Rockets love switching. James Harden like doesn't want to fight over screens. Right. Forget that.
So let's give our final takes on Luka Doncic and Marvin Bagley. Let's make some crazy, I don't know, futuristic, hot takes.
Hot take theater. I could do that.
Yeah. So you go first on Luka, and then I'll go on Bagley, and then you go on Bagley, and then I'll go on Luka. If that makes any sense. I think I said that right.
Sure. Okay. Luka will be the best European player to ever play for the Mavericks.
Damn it. And I don't want to say that. All right, go ahead.
Well, were you going to say that really?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Well, then I want something. Let's see. Okay. Doncic will get Rick Carlisle fired.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He'll butt heads. He's fiery. He's got that Bengal tiger tattoo.
Yeah, I think Jeremy Reynolds used to call Bano the Slovenian Tasmanian devil.
Oh, I got it. Okay, here I got it. Okay, the Mavericks picked Jalen Brunson in the second round because Dennis Smith is on his way out.
That's hot.
Yeah, that's hot. That's fiery, sizzling.
That's fiery. All right. Well, yeah, I was gonna say Luka's the best European guy. Okay, so with Bagley, obviously I'm a Kings fan, and you're a Mavericks fan, but we can't say we, like our team, stuff like that. But I do want the best for the Kings. They made the pick already. I have to get over it.
You're right. Willie Cauley-Stein MVP 2020.
I don't think that was the best, but at the same time, nobody really knows how the draft's gonna end up. And, you gave Luka you gave him a 20% shot at being the best. You gave Bagley a 12% shot at being the best. I think that's pretty accurate. They're all so close to each other. We're obviously nitpicking, but I just hope for the best for Marvin Bagley, and I hope that he can deliver on his number 2 selection and then bring the Kings lots of victories.
It's too bad we didn't talk a little bit more about why I think Bagley, like, despite some of his real limitations, why I think he's like gonna end up being good. Because
say it.
Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of it hinges on his production, despite these like glaring shortcomings. A lot of it hinges on the fact that I think that like people who think that he's a 4 see the mismatch that he has on small ball 4s, which is like size, leaping, like, and then on the other hand, it's like, well, yeah, and then on defense, like, of course you can play the 4 defensively. And then people who think that he's a 5 look at him and think about all the advantages that he has against 5s. I think that he's the type of guy who actually, come playoff time, is like vital to a team. It's like you have a guy who on a classic NBA position creates a mismatch. Like if Bagley's on the floor, there's a problem somewhere. A good Bagley, like a good version of Bagley, and that we saw that bear itself out like game after game in the NCAA season. Like there's nothing he's doing out there that's like mind blowing. Like trust me, he is not. I mean, like he's pretty low skill. Shout out LeVar. Like really did a great job developing his son, man. But I mean, really, like if he can just pick up some rudimentary skills, just like a couple of dribble drive moves, maybe like a hesitation. Well, no, he can hesitate a little bit. Maybe some like left to right movement instead of just like
Left
I
to
don't
left.
know. Well, okay, like a crossover or something. I don't know, or like a crossover into a spin move, like from the free throw line. I mean,
That'd
Dave
be
Yeager
nice.
Dave Yeager would get such a hard on if he was doing stuff like that. He'd just be like, "Oh God, oh man, let's do this every possession. Run horns. I'm getting horny, horny for horns, man." Yeah. So like, if he can just pick up like a couple of like really threatening moves, I mean, he's so hard to stop. Like, he's gonna jump over you if you're a 4, and if you're 5, he's gonna get by you. You know what I mean?
All right, I love it. I think we're gonna end it on that great note because hyped right now. I don't even want to bring negativity to the subject no more. I love Bagley, and that's all that matters, right?
I convinced you. All right, sweet. Okay, perfect. So should I lead us out? Or you want?
Yeah.
I had the intro.
Go ahead.
I had the intro. We can like alternate words like this, and then all right. Okay, so thanks for listening to Deep Positioning on the Cowbell Kingdom podcast. You've been listening to me, Chris. I didn't actually introduce myself, I think, in the beginning, but Chris Axman at Chris Axman NBA. I'm host of Deep Positioning, founder of Almighty Baller. Check it out, almightyballer.com, where you can also find, but like check them out first at CowbellkingdomTV.com, right? Is it?
Yeah. So
okay, you do your whole thing now.
Yeah.
Right?
So we are moving. Obviously, the True Hoop Network has been dead for a little bit, for a long time actually. So we're moving to the USA Today Network soon.
Nice.
We're doing the transfer over. So stay tuned for that. It'll be CowbellkingdomTV.com. It's just going to redirect to their network, I guess. They're paying for all the hosts.
Is it going to be Kingswire?
Stuff like that. So that's good.
Is it Kingswire? Or Bagley Wire?
It's the Sports Daily.
Okay, yeah. I think I know that. Well, yeah, so stay tuned. If you want more information about that, though, you just got to follow one Twitter account. Two Twitter accounts and 2 Instagram accounts. Cowbell Kingdom and Leo Biaz. Leo, how would you go about finding you and your site on social media?
Yeah, so obviously people can follow me at Biaz Leo. I'm always down to talk all NBA basketball. I'm just not a Kings guy. I want to be a big-time Mavericks guy. I'll say this right now. We're going to have a lot of Mavericks coverage on the YouTube channel. I promise you that.
Angry Mavericks coverage. All right. Well, thanks everyone out there for listening. I'm looking forward to the 1920. Well, man, I'm looking forward to free agency. It should be pretty wild. And thanks for tuning in.
I'll see you
and stay subscribed. I know you haven't seen me for a while, but look at you. You stuck it out, and I'm back. I would never abandon you. Never going to give you up. It's going to be great. So yeah, good night, everyone, and thanks for listening.